Hey, what's going on, everybody? So I am finally going home. I've been out for 3.5 months, and so this is my second time going home since January, and both times it's been a major pain in the butt trying to get home. It's just, you got to repower, and the first time the repower, the guy didn't read his message and drove 400 miles the wrong direction, and then I had to go repower another truck, and then finally get the guy. They stopped him finally, and it was like then the load that I ended up repowering, I barely had enough time to deliver it, and I was like, I made it like within an hour. I was like an hour late, but it wasn't my fault. But it was just a pain in the neck the first go around, and then this go around was another pain in the neck. I got a repower, and they didn't give me much information. They just said, go to Lebanon, Ohio tomorrow after you get loaded, and you're going to repower. They didn't tell me anything about the repower, anything about the time. So I drove till midnight that night to get to Lebanon, Ohio. I didn't know if the guy was already there. I didn't know if he was going to be there first thing in the morning. Well, come the next morning, he's not there. I can't get a hold of him. Then my DM says, it was supposed to be, then they said 10 o'clock, then they said 11. I messaged the guy, I never heard from him. I called my DM, I said, has anyone been in touch? Long story short, they can't give you the other driver's phone number unless he gives permission, or she gives permission, which I think is stupid. He never got the message I sent him, unit to unit, because I sent it with my phone number. He never got it for whatever reason. It just didn't go to his unit. So finally I told my DM, well, tell him to call me, give him my number. So he immediately called me once he got that message from her. And once I got him on the phone, he said, I'm over here, I'm waiting to get loaded. I've been here all day and I'm still not loaded. He said, looks like I'm going in the building now to get loaded, and I only have 3 hours left on my clock. By the time I get loaded and secured, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. So you're 30 miles away. I think you should come over here. And that's what I already said to my DM earlier. I said, maybe I can go there and help him tarp and use my tarps, because my tarps are in good shape. I was worried that I was going to get crappy tarps. Well, so I called my DM, and she said, yeah, that's fine. And so once the two truck drivers get into communication with each other, you can figure things out way better than being left in the dark and people in the office, trying to tell you what to do, and they don't understand. Once I can get actually in touch with the other driver, then I know what's going on. I know if he's loaded or if he's not loaded. It's way better just to have the two drivers communicate. Forget this going through the middleman or middle person at the office that doesn't know, they don't understand. But once I got in touch with him, we figured out what we needed to do. I needed to drive over there. So I drove over there to give him my tarps so that we didn't have to swap tarps. And he was worried because his tarps were good too. So we both had good tarps, but we used mine anyways. But by the time, he wasn't even loaded fully when I got there. And by the time I helped him tarp and everything, it was like 6 p.m. Now I was supposed to repower at 10 in the morning. So this is that evening. And I had 6 hours left on my drive clock on my 14. So I had to decide what I was going to do. I didn't know I could either just stay there for another 5 hours because I had been on break the whole time. Stay there for 2 more hours and then drive all through the night. Then I'd have a fresh 11-hour drive clock. Drive all night, sleep the next day, and then drive all night again to get here to Massachusetts to deliver by 7 o'clock this morning. Or I could drive 5 hours and I figured I could get to our Ohio terminal, so I didn't have to worry about parking. and then sleep, and then get up and drive all day yesterday, and then the rest of it this morning. So that's what I ended up doing. But I still wasn't going to get here for 7 o'clock. But I drove to our terminal in Ohio. I got there at midnight. So for a 10-hour break, I couldn't leave till 10 o'clock yesterday morning. I left at 10 o'clock yesterday morning. Drove 560 miles yesterday. Got all the way to Willington, Connecticut at the TA there. But this is what I figured out yesterday while I was driving. There's this obscure rule that no one really uses. It's called the sleeper berth provision. And instead of doing a full 10-hour break to get your clock reset for the next day, you can do an 8 hours in the sleeper berth, and you get, after 8 hours in sleeper berth, you get back whatever you have left that you didn't use the previous day. So that's what I did. I when I got to the TA, I went off to, I did my post trip, then I went off duty for a few minutes, used the bathroom, and then I went right to sleeper berth. So this morning I got up after I'd been in the sleeper berth for 8 hours. It gave me an hour and 36 minutes. And I was 81 miles away from this delivery point. So I didn't get my full 11 hours of driving. I got 1 hour, 36 minutes. But I would have had to sit there for another 2 hours to get the full 10 hours to get everything back. But the thing is, I'm going home today, so I don't need hours after. I just need enough to get here. Because once I get here, I get unloaded, I can use personal conveyance. I can be out of hours, that's fine, because I can PC to go home. I won't be under load. So that's what I did. And I had to use I used yard move this morning at the truck stop, leaving, because I didn't want to kick on drive time, driving from my parking spot to the where you got to pay, and that was a couple of minutes, and I knew it was going to be tight. So I used yard move there, and then when I got here, this is a huge job site, and I didn't know where to go, so I put it on yard move, and I've moved like 2 or 3 times since I got here. But doing that and using the sleeper berth provision, I got here at 7:04, and I didn't think it was possible. But with a little bit of creative thinking, I was able to do it, because I would have been here at like 9:30 or 10, 3 hours late. And this is I've been here for like 4 hours. It takes a terrible long time to unload, but if I hadn't have gotten here on time, I wouldn't get detention pay. And that was my concern, one of the concerns. One was getting it delivered, because I pulled in right behind me was the truck with the forklift. So 7:04, I called my DM. I said, it's 4 minutes after the thing, but can you make sure that I get detention pay? She said yes. I was in front of the truck that came to bring the forklift, so it wasn't like the 4 minutes made any difference. So I made it. It's the only time I've ever considered using that sleeper berth provision. Like I said, nobody really uses it. But now, if I was not going home and I was going to be getting another load today, it wouldn't have worked out so well. Now, I did the unsecured everything, and I've been sitting here off duty for 2 hours. After 2 hours, it gave me 7 hours and 44 minutes of drive time. But it didn't give me a full 14 hours. It only gave me 7:44. So if I was going to pick up another load, I wouldn't have as much time. It's very confusing. You could sit there, and I don't know if anyone really understands it completely. There's a lot of different variables. There's 2 or 3 different ways you can use that sleeper berth provision. But I used it this morning. It gave me an hour and 36 minutes to get 81 miles over here. I got here within 4 minutes of the delivery appointment time. And yeah, I did it. So that's it. Very rare instance to use a very obscure law. These hours of service rules are, to me, they're ridiculous. like I said, the only other way I could have really gotten here on time would have been once the load was repowered, I could have sat there for 2 more hours because I'd been on break for 8 hours waiting for the repower. I could have taken another 2 hours, and then it would have given me a completely fresh clock, and then drive all night long. And I don't drive at night. Just driving till midnight the night before, I had to pull over twice because I was falling asleep. I had to lay down for 5 minutes. I would not, right now I've been on a schedule driving during the day, sleeping at night. I go to sleep like 10 o'clock. I wake up at like 4 in the morning. 4 or 5. Trying to drive 2 nights in a row all night long would not have been safe. But that was my only other option to do it legally, which is stupid. But it's all because of the hours of service forced me into a situation where I really didn't think I was even going to be able to get here. And the only real way to do it would have been to drive through the night, and who knows what would have happened if I tried to do that. So I just think it's dumb. They really need to relax it and allow more freedom to the driver to make decisions of when they need to rest and when they can drive. But that's it. That's my rant. I made it. I'm going to be home in a couple hours, and I'm taking 2 weeks off. Probably going to go bear hunting Tuesday. Massachusetts opening day for bear season is Tuesday. I just realized that the other day. And it'll be an excuse to be in the woods. I really need some therapy in the woods, And I like driving this truck, but when you're out for 3 to 4 months, sometimes it seems easy. It doesn't, it's not hard work, but mentally you're always 24 hours a day you're responsible for this truck. And until I park it this afternoon and get out and go to my personal vehicle, until that time, it's just the responsibility is there. Whether you're under load, whether you're taking your 10-hour break at a truck stop, you're always responsible, even though you're not getting paid. So it's just going to be really good feeling. Unfortunately, the 2 weeks are going to go by really fast, but that's just the way it is. And I'll get back out there for another, I think I'm going to do about 2 months maybe this time. I'm going to stay out till the end of November. So the rest of September, October, November, 2.5 months I'll do. So each stint, I started 4 months, then I did 3.5, now I'm going to do 2.5. So I can get back for deer season in Massachusetts. Alright, that's it. Life of a trucker. Sometimes you got to be creative and come up with, it's the only solution I could come up with this morning, but it worked, and I'm pretty proud of myself for thinking of that sleeper berth provision and actually putting it to use. But to figure that out and how it works, you really need a master's degree and be borderline genius to understand it. I mean, try to read it online. It's extremely confusing. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.